Hello. In the previous class, what did we study? Hydrocarbons. That is, it may be about the carbon, the characteristics of carbon. Which are the characteristics of carbon? Catenation and the tetravalency. Okay. Now, in the previous class already we discussed about the three bonds, that is a single bond, a double bond and the triple bond. So, if you are not knowing that or still more confusion with that, you can go to the previous video and check to that, then come to this video, okay, or to this class. Fine. So, now when I say carbon compounds, yes, carbons are going to form a large number of compounds, that is especially of more than 60 organic compounds will be formed by the carbons, and they have more bondage with this hydrogen. So, such compounds we call it as a hydrocarbons. Okay. So, in this class or in this chapter, you are going to study mainly on these hydrocarbons. So, hydrocarbons are classified into two types. One is saturated hydrocarbons, and unsaturated hydrocarbons. Saturated hydrocarbons and the unsaturated hydrocarbons. Okay. So, what do you mean by this saturated hydrocarbons? See, whichever the organic compounds, that is hydrocarbons, are going to be framed by a single bond. So, simple example, we had studied about hydrogen. Hydrogen will be forming a single bond. Like that only, when carbon is forming a bondage with the hydrogen with a single bond itself, that we call it as saturated hydrocarbons. Such type of bondage framed compounds we call it as alkanes. It means that those hydrocarbons are being featured into or framed into a group of alkanes. Okay. So, alkanes are the hydrocarbons which are being framing by single bonds. Okay. So, single bonds na hege now frame martivi? Yes, by a one single line. Okay. Now, coming to unsaturated hydrocarbons. Unsaturated hydrocarbons are again classified into two types, that is what we call it as with the double bond, the hydrocarbons which are being formed by a double bond and the triple bond. Okay. So, double bond hydrocarbons will be grouped under a name called as alkenes, and triple bond will be grouped under a name called as alkynes. Okay. Understood? So, double bond yadu agutte? Alkenes, and triple bond will be coming under alkynes. So, double bond we are going to show it in this way, and triple bond in this three parallel lines. Okay. Understood? Fine. So, just revise it. Hydrocarbons, you may get this type of question also. Classify the hydrocarbons, okay, for the 2 marks. So, when they are asking classify the hydrocarbons, which are the two types of hydrocarbons? Saturated hydrocarbons and the unsaturated hydrocarbons. Okay. So, under saturated hydrocarbons we have an alkanes. What are alkanes? Which are framing by a single bond. Then unsaturated by a double bond and triple bond. Double bond alkenes, triple bond alkynes. Okay. Now, with the continuation with this, alkanes are having a general formula of CnH2n plus 2. Okay. Remember this, when they ask you the classification, not only these names, you should also mention the general formula of alkanes, or sometimes for 1 mark they can also ask you what is the general formula of alkanes. Alkanes, the general formula CnH2n plus 2. What does the N represent? Number of carbon atoms. Okay. Then coming with double bond, general formula of alkenes is CnH2n. Okay. And triple bond, what is that? CnH2n minus 2. Okay. General formula of alkenes. Fine. Got it? Sorry, this is alkynes. Alkynes ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು CnH2n -2. Okay. Now moving with further, ishtu bardre if they ask the classification, yes ನಾನು ಏನು ಈ ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ, either they may ask you the classification or the general formula of these things. Okay, or they may also ask you just define what are alkanes or write a note on alkanes, alkenes and alkynes. So you should say alkanes are saturated hydrocarbons, alkenes and alkynes are the unsaturated hydrocarbons, and general formula of these things. Okay, fine. Moving with this, next ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ನಿಮಗೆ ಮೇನ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಶುರು ಆಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಕಮಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ಅ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಕ್ ಕೆಮಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಫೈನ್. ಈಗ ನಾನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಏನು ತಗೊಳ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಆಲ್ಕೇನ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಆಲ್ಕೇನ್ಸ್ ಬರ್ದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಯು ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ನೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಅ ಜನರಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ ಆಫ್ ದಿಸ್ CnH2n+2, and n, what does the n represent? Number of carbon atoms. Okay. ನಾವು ಸೊ ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮೇನ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಒನ್ನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬಂದುಬಿಟ್ಟು n = ವಾಟ್, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಇಫ್ ಐ ಟೇಕ್ n = 1 ವಾಟ್ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ, n = 2 ವಾಟ್ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ. ಓಕೆ, ದೆನ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ರೈಟ್ ದ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ. ಓಕೆ, ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ. Then we have a structural formula. Okay, so based on this, yes, you are getting more questions, and 100% you can expect a questions based on this. Now I am going to take n = 1. Okay, n = what? 1. So when n = 1, take the general formula and substitute the n value there. So Cn, C1H2 × 1 + 2. Okay, so what will be the molecular formula now? See, 1 in the sense, if I doesn't write also, it means that 1, H 2 × 1 2 + 2 4, CH4. Okay, now with this I am also writing another column, and I call them as a molecular name. Okay, molecular name. Why I am stressing out these concepts means you may get 1 mark question based on this, 2 mark question based on this, and maximum of 3 marks also. Okay, any type of questions you may get. So you should be knowing what is the molecular formula, molecular name of it, and the structural formula. Okay, now CH4, what will be the molecular name of that? So when we are having a 1 carbon atom, we represent always it as a meth, and you know that it is a alkanes. Alkanes in the sense last ANE I am going to take, so molecular name will be methane. So 1 carbon atom iddaga we represent it as a meth, and it is being formed by a single bond. Hege single bond aito? Yes, we will write the structural formula. So 1C is there. Okay, 1C, and how many H are there? 4 H are there. Okay, but how you are going to write the structural formula? See, for 1C, how many bondage we require? 4 bondages, right? 4 electrons it needs. It has to get the 4 electrons, or it has to share the 4 electrons. So now I am going to write the structural formula of this methane. Okay, I am saying another thing, they will also give you the structural formula and ask you to write the molecular name. Okay, if there is a single bond, yes, you can write it as a ANE. It is simple way of like how in this chapter only we will study another one, IUPAC. How does the naming will be done for all these molecular structural formulas. ಓಕೆ, ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೇಗೆ ನಾವು ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಹೆಸರಿಟ್ಟಿರ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಅದೇ ಥರ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಹೈಡ್ರೋಕಾರ್ಬನ್ಸ್ಗೂ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅದ ನೇಮ್ ಅಂತ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ನೀವು ಹೇಗೆ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಅಂದರೆ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಆಟಮ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ? 1. ಸೊ 1 ಅಂತ ಬಂದಾಗ ಎಸ್ ಮೆತ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯು ನೋ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ಅ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಏನ್ ಮೀಥೇನ್. ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟುಡ್? ಫೈನ್. So you should not get confused. Next, we'll move to the next one. N is equal to what? N is equal to 2. Okay. Now, better I will write this in the smaller one. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಒಂದು ಅರ್ಥ ಆದರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಿಮಗೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಹೋಗೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗೋದು. ಫೈನ್, ವಿಲ್ ಗೋ ಟು n is equal to 2. So when carbon atoms you represent it as 2 means what will be the molecular name, the first word of that, what will be that? Yeah, yes, I am going to write as earth. ಓಕೆ, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಇದನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ ಬರೆಯೋಕ್ಕೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು, ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ನೇಮ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಬೇಕು. ಓಕೆನಾ? ಸೊ ಯು ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್. ಸೊ ನಾವು n is equal to 2 ಅಂತ ಬರೆದಾಗ, ಎಸ್ ಸಿ how many carbon atoms? 2. So H 2 into 2 plus 2. How much here? C2. H 2 2s are 4. 4 plus 2 8. Sorry, 4 plus 2 6. Yes, C2 H6. Now I will write the structural formula first. How many carbon are there? 2 carbons. So carbon will be framing a bond with the other carbon itself. So that is the main property of carbon. What is that? Catenation. Okay, now when you take this carbon, how many bond already it has been framed? 1. Another how many bonds has to be framed? 3. So I am going to write H here. Okay, another for this already 1 bond is there, another 3 H. So count the number of H: 1 2 3 4 5 6 H, and which all been all framed by a single bonds. So this we call it as a ethane. Understood? Ethane. Fine. Next, continuing with this, we'll go to the next thing. What will be the next? N is equal to 3. Okay, then we have to write the general formula or a molecular formula, molecular name and the structural formula. Okay, so N is equal to 3. What is the general formula? C3H 2 into 3 plus 2. Okay, so what it will be now? C3H 2 3s are 6. 6 plus 2 8 H8. Okay, C3H8. Now what will be the structural formula for that? Write down here structural formula. Tell me, how many carbons are there? C. Okay, now when I take this, yes, for this 3H will be there. So it formed a 4 bonds. When coming to this C, already 2 bonds are there. How many bonds? How many H we have to do? 2H. Then for this C, another 3. Count the number of H: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So got it right? C3H8. Then what will be the molecular name? 3 means prop. Okay, so single bonds, propane, or propane we can also name it as it. Okay, fine. Then you can just take it as assignment. N is equal to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You should practice it out. Okay, now just we'll write the molecular name of it. 4 means how much? Butane. Pentane. 6, 5 is pentane, 6 is hexane, 7 heptane, then 8 octane, 9 nonane, then 10 decane. Okay, this is how we have to learn about the, what is this? What are those things? Alkanes. Okay, so for you, yes, we can go for 11, 12 or whatever the thing. Fine. Now whatever the thing I have showed you, all the C are in a linear form, right? So as we go after studying alkenes and alkynes, we also go with the different type of structures. That is, it will be in the ring form or a hexagonal form. Okay, or it will be of a branch type. ಅಥವಾ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಈಗ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಇದನ್ನು ನೀವು ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆದರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಾವು ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟುಡ್ ಟಿಲ್ ಹಿಯರ್? Shall we move to the next one? Okay, which is the next hydrocarbon? Which is the next hydrocarbon? Alkenes. Yes. So now sorry, alkenes. What is the general formula of it? CnH2n, right? Fine. Now we'll start. We'll divide the board in the four thing, number of numbers and general formula, molecular name and the structural formula. I think we need more space for this. Okay. Now first one, what is n is equal to 1. Okay. So now what we are doing? Alkenes. So 1 anta tagondaga, see here, when I take C1, H, 2 into 1, ಏನು ಬಂತು? CH2, right? CH2, when you write the structural formula, just see here, C and 2H are there. How many bonds we need? 4 bonds. So here carbon cannot be stable, means it cannot be satisfied. Okay, so what we are going to do? Yes, this doesn't exist at all in the alkenes, number 1 carbon atom. Okay, fine. So this doesn't exist. We'll go for the second number. N is equal to how much? 2. So 2 in the start agutte alkenes alli. So C 2 H 2 into 2. Tell here, C 2 H 4. So what will be the formula? C2H4. Now coming to this, when I write the structural formula, C 2 carbon atoms are there. Now how many hydrocarbons are there, or hydrogen are there? 4 hydrogen are there. So when I take 4 hydrogens here, listen, this carbon is also having 3 bonds, this carbon is also having 3 bonds. But remember that what we are studying? Alkenes. Alkenes means what? Double bond. So what we have to do? Double bond. You have to write the double bond between 2 carbon atoms. And this is only 2 carbons are there. So between that only 2 bonds are there. Then what about 3, 4 and all? Okay, we cannot write a double bond for all the carbon atoms. Only one between 2 carbon atom itself we can write. Okay, so first we will write the molecular name of that. What it will be? 2 are there. Ethene. Okay, naming kuda kaltirbeku neatagi. Ethene aito. Then we will go to the next thing, that is N is equal to 3. Okay, N is equal to 3. C 3 H 3 2s are how much here? C 2 into 3. C3 H 6, right? When you write the structural formula, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು. C and C 3 carbon atoms are there. So ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಡಬಲ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಹಾಕೋಬಹುದು. ಐ ಆಮ್ writing double bond here. So this already, this carbon having a 2 bonds. So 2H I can frame it out, and this carbon is having a 3 bonds. So only 1 hydrogen I can give, and this carbon is having a 1 single bond. So we have to give with the 3 hydrogen. Count the number of hydrogen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 hydrogen compounds are there. Got it? Then what will be the molecular name? Propene. Okay, fine, understood? Okay, practice this till here. We'll continue in the next class. Fine, practice these hydrocarbons. Thank you so much.